Hi everyone, my name is Florence and this is a video response to Katey Flower's tag only 10 decks. So I am a YouTuber on the French Tarotube, but I don't mind if you don't subscribe to my channel because I know that most of my videos are in French and this is not the point. But here I really wanted to do this video because I have done this only 10 deck thing on my own channel a few weeks ago. And when I saw that Katey Flower launched this hashtag, there were so many video responses that this would be cool to share with you my own selection and to enjoy a moment with the global Tarotube. So yeah, that was a difficult exercise because I have quite a few decks. I must have something around 130 decks or so. I collect tarot decks, oracle decks, and Lenormand decks. So when I did this exercise, I had to ask myself what really makes me happy with my cards. What is really important for me in my practice? So I have a few clues about that. So I really like when decks pair together and when the backs of the card match together. Also, this is something that really makes me happy. That is really satisfying. And I also like when a deck is a deck that I can use in different ways. So yeah, these are the things I particularly appreciate, and that's what we're going to see. So here I'm going to start with this one. Maybe you recognized the backing of this deck, and this is the Tarot of the She by Emily Carding. So despite the fact that I hate the cardstock, this is probably my favorite tarot deck. I don't like this cardstock because it is glossy and a bit sticky. This is the old Schiffer publishing cardstock, and the deck is a bit damaged in the corners, so it's not a perfect deck, but I don't really mind because I love this deck so much. And it is quite funny because at the beginning I hated this deck. The characters used to make me feel very uncomfortable, and suddenly I don't know why it has changed completely and I felt really attracted to the deck. So I think it is because I gained in maturity with my tarot practice, and I discovered that this deck was really powerful. It's a beautiful deck to work on shadow work, and at the same time it is very supportive and very nurturing. I really love the vibrant colors, and it has a very raw energy that speaks directly to you. I also like the keywords that are associated with the cards, and especially for the court cards, because each court card is associated with a gift. So yeah, it is a great deck, and I also love the guidebook with the little poems. Usually it is not something that really speaks to me, but here the way it is written really speaks to me. So it is a wonderful deck that I really appreciate. Now I'm going to show you one of my favorite oracle decks, and this is the Flower Insight card. So it was very difficult for me to get this deck because the Flower Insight cards are cards based on the Australian bush flower essences, and this is something that is not commonly widespread in France. So I encountered this deck for the first time in a crystal shop because the lady who owned the shop was using it to provide readings to people. And when I saw the cards, I found them really interesting. And I have searched for this deck for quite a long time, and I eventually found a copy last year. It was a second-hand copy, and I was really happy with that. So there's nothing very fancy about this deck. It is very simple. The layout is even maybe a little bit old-fashioned, but it doesn't matter because it's really a powerful deck that I really love. So for each card there is the name of the flower, so the common name of the flower, the scientific name, and then what you can use this flower for, or what does it say about you. And even if I'm not particularly connected with Australia, I feel very connected with the flowers in general, even if there are flowers I've never seen. When I use a deck with flowers, they always reflect my mood and my state of mind and my resistances to something, or the emotions that may affect a situation. So I like using those decks to make a sort of diagnosis about what is going wrong, or what resources I can use to help me to achieve something. And this deck is really great for that. What is really great about those bushflower essences, if we compare them with the European back essences, is that there are more cards. Here there are 69 cards, and they will deal with emotional matters, spiritual matters, and physical matters as well. So they are much more complete than the back flower essences. And even if I'm not really using the essences themselves, I found the cards really useful. So they also have a kind of very raw energy because they are just photographs of flowers, and this is why they tend to pair quite well with this tarot of the Sidhe. And if we look at the back of the cards, both are very simple, so they're easy to match together. I mean, there's nothing particular about this one. I'm not very fond of decks with things written at the back, but I mean, it is, at least it has been kept simple, so you can use it with plenty of decks. So for example, I'm going to pick one card from this one and one card from this one. And here we have the 10 of Cups with the slenderized flower, group harmony, and conflict resolution. Group harmony, look at this 10 of Cups. Perfect. What a pairing. Yeah. So these are really two of my favorite decks ever. So we're going to continue with other decks. If I had to keep only 10, so I'm going to put those back into their box. And yeah, sorry, I should have kept this one out of the box because I'm going to show you, I'm not going to keep all the cards, but just a few, another oracle deck that works perfectly fine with the Tarot of the Sidhe, and this is the Earthbound Oracle. This is a little gem because it works with so many other decks, because it is very simple, and I really love this deck. I also really appreciate to have small cards like this, because when I go on holiday, it is easy to carry with me. So the backs match together, of course, because they are both very simple with a black background. And this one looks like this. It is gorgeous. I love the artwork. So here the illustrations were painted on wood. There are many animals and it feels very natural, a bit quirky sometimes also. So this quirky aspect reflects the energy of the tarot of the she. And this is just a very cool pairing. So there is no guidebook to go with this little deck, but really you don't need any guidebook. The pictures and the keywords speak for themselves, I think. What a beautiful deck, don't you think so? Yeah. So here, what I would do generally when I use this deck with a tarot deck is that I'm going to pick one card from the tarot deck and two from the Earthbound Oracle. So this is what we're going to do. One card from the tarot and two cards from the Oracle deck. And here, for example, we have the Emperor, sleep, and wealth. Okay, so as the Emperor has such a fiery energy in this deck, and the message could be that you can't rest too much. You need to be active if you want to get success and to be wealthy. Okay, so that could be one way to interpret the meaning of this spread. Or yeah, anyway, I'm going to show you a few other examples. So the Dreamer Princess is the Princess of Swords with simplicity and release. Yeah, I like it. I mean, these are very cool decks anyway. And they can work in pairs or they can perfectly work on their own. So that's why they are in this selection. Another deck that I really love pairing with the Earthbound Oracle is the Oak, Ash and Thorn Tarot. This is a tarot deck by Stephanie Burrows and Adam Ohlers, and this is probably one of the only decks that I backed on Kickstarter. And I really love this tarot deck. It is beautiful. I love the cardstock, which is thick. In France, we tend to shuffle hand over hand, so we usually like thicker cardstock, especially the 350 GSM. So yeah, this one is perfect. I love the illustrations, they feel very gentle, and there is even a kind of storybook feel to this deck. Usually I'm not really fond of animal tarot decks, because I don't always relate with all the animals from the deck. But here, as we have one sort of animal for each suit, it feels a bit different, and I find the animals and the scenes very expressive. So it is an easy deck. Yes, it's easy to understand what is going on, and it is so beautiful. Come on. Yeah, so this one pairs wonderfully with the Earthbound Oracle. This is one of my favorite pairings. So here again, I'm going to pick one card from the tarot deck and two cards from the Oracle deck. There. So here, for example, there is the Ten of Swords, Rock Bottom, Ruin, too many thoughts on your mind, and water and guide. So maybe here it tells you that you are way too much in your mind and that you need to connect to your emotions to guide you, rather than connecting to your head and your mental sphere. What a nice message. So I think those two decks really complement each other because the colors are really matching together, and yeah, they really have a similar vibe for me, so they really work really nicely together. So sometimes I like also adding Lenormand reading. So I'm going to use the Wildera Lenormand. This is a deck by Morena Artio. This is a deck that I bought on Etsy, and this was a first limited edition. There will be a second printing for this one, and I wanted to show you how beautiful this deck is with the back of the Oak, Ash and Thorn. Okay, we have the same kind of color palette. We have the fall leaves, and it works also really nicely with this one in terms of color, and there are the crescent moons on both backs as well, so all three together really match very well. So yeah, so I'm going to show you what it looks like. So it is very nice Lenormand. It is very easy to read because it's not too busy, so you immediately get what the symbol is. And to me this is very important in Lenormand because I like doing the big picture spread. And I've started using Lenormand before I've started using tarot. So to me it was important to have at least one Lenormand deck in my selection, because this is a sort of deck that I really like using for everyday matters and everyday situations. So here we're still into the woods like the previous decks, and it is really nice to use with the first two decks, or with either this one, or as a standalone deck. So that's really great. So here, for example, there is the mountain that symbolizes an obstacle, the cross that means suffering and the idea of burden, and the tree that is symbolizing life and health and growth. Okay, so it means that we come to the end of an obstacle, because the cross is also about ending, and a new growth is going to come. So this new growth is going to come if you manage to follow your emotions rather than your head, for example. So it's the way it works for me, and I think it works beautifully. And also in this deck, what was cool is that there was a little token with one of the symbols of the Lenormand. So I got the symbol for the masculine. So yeah, I love these decks. They work really fine together. So I'm going to keep the Oak, Ash and Thorn out because there is another pairing that I love doing with this one. So the pairing with the Earthbound and the Wildera Lenormand would be for the dark season. Although I could use the Lenormand at any time because I get only one. So here it's not as important as when I have my whole collection. So yeah, this is rather for the dark season, and for the light season, I like pairing the Oak, Ash and Thorn with another Oracle deck, which is the Botanical Inspirations, published by US Games. This is also a wonderful deck because it pairs with many other decks. So you can pair it with nature-based decks, or you can pair it with vintage decks as well. So this is great. This is not really a deck that I would use on its own. This is more a sort of companion deck, but I really love the way it works with the Oak, Ash and Thorn. So this is what it looks like if you don't know this deck. So I'm usually not very fond of writings on the back of the cards, but these look really nice. It looks like a vintage label and it doesn't bother me. There are flowers on each card with the name of the flower, the scientific name of the flower, and the keyword and an inspiring quote. So here what I would do is that I'm going to use the Botanical Inspiration as the focal point of my reading, and I would complete with 2 cards from the Oak, Ash and Thorn. This is the way it works when I pair those decks together. Or if I'm not doing that, I will pick 1 card from each deck. So I'm going to show you what it looks like. Okay, and 2 cards from the Oak, Ash and Thorn. One and 2. Right, so here we have Sweet Pea for blissful pleasure, follow your bliss, and the universe will open doors where there were only walls, by Joseph Campbell. And here you have the Queen of Swords and the World. So yeah, the World is about all that can be done and the potential that you want to achieve. Okay, and it is quite interesting that we have the Queen of Swords, because the Queen of Swords is intelligent, but she may be a bit cut from her own emotions. So here, if you're in this state of mind and you're rather a mental person, you are invited to follow your bliss and your emotions, okay, to reach the final step that is depicted by the World card. Beautiful. I like the way it works and the way it looks. It's beautiful. So here, for example, there is tuberose, dangerous, pleasure, with the Knight of Cups and the 8 of Wands. I just show you a few examples to show you what it looks like together. But the colors really match, I think. It's really nice. And I like to match the energy of flowers with the energies of nature and animals. So yeah, this is a great pairing that I enjoy during spring, summer, and even September. Yes. Spring, summer, and September. So what is great, as you can see, is that this deck can be paired with so many oracle decks. So in this way, you never get bored by this deck, because you can use I'm bubbling. You can use this deck in so many different ways. So this is something I really like about the Oak, Ash and Thorn. Okay, we're going to continue, and we're going to continue with one of the big successes of the recent years. This is the Light Seers Tarot by Chris Am. So when I discovered about this deck, it was probably when the indie version was released. And of course, it was too late to get an indie version. But I instantly fell in love with the illustrations of this deck. And I like the colors. It is very, very colorful. I love the modern feel to this deck. The characters are very expressive as well, so it is very intuitive and very easy to use and to understand. I find the design very appealing, and it is a deck that I like using for myself, but also for other people. I really like this Ace of Wands, for example. Yeah, I find it beautiful, and I understand why so many people like this deck. And I also like the guidebook. I mean, it is a very nice guidebook as well. Yeah. Wow, this is so beautiful. I love this card. Yeah, so you probably already know the light seers, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this one. So this is a deck that could perfectly be used on its own, but it pairs with many decks. So that's why it is a deck I love. So I'm going to show you an oracle deck that I like using with this one when I do my weekly readings for people. This is a French oracle deck, so you might not be too interested, but anyway, it's in my only 10 deck selection. So I'm going to show you the deck. It is called l'Oracle des medeores, and it is a deck by Stéphanie Abelin, and it was illustrated by Noémie Tricoche. So this is a mass market deck, and it is amazing. So I like using it with the light seers because they all they both have a very vivid color palette. So although the style is different, I think the colors really work together. So I'm going to set this one aside to show you l'Oracle des medeores. Okay, so when I started using cards, I was mostly interested in divination, and this is a deck for divination, but you can use it in different ways. You can use it for divination and also for guidance, because you have two different sets of cards. The blue cards are the cards for guidance, and these are the cards for divination. So this is what they look like. So here you have success, lies, the answer is within you, deep cleansing, protection, freedom from blockage, letting go, confusion and doubt, strong encounter, struggle, choice to be made, the loved one, work, link with the past lives, transformation, message for today, sadness, stagnation, abundance, evil eye, slow down, conflicts, judgment, happiness. Yeah, I think this is a wonderful and beautiful deck. The illustrations are so vibrant. When I saw that deck, it was an immediate love affair as well. And here you have the guidance cards. So you have cards that are related with the chakras, like this one. Queen Bee is for the solar plexus. This one is for the root chakra, for the sacred chakra, for the crown chakra, for the third eye, the third chakra, and the heart chakra. And you have other cards like past lives, general harmonization, inner child, fears and anxiety, forgiveness, letting go or surrender, self-love, etc. So I like mixing both decks or combining them together, and I like also using them for divination readings for myself or other people. I feel really comfortable with this deck. It is very clear and it gives very straightforward messages. And of course, I like using it for chakra spreads. So I'm going to use these to represent the chakra, and then I will add a card from the divination cards to know what needs to be done for each chakra. Is it working, or do I need to realign something? So I really love this deck because it is a multi-purpose deck, and I also like the small size of this oracle deck. It is not too big, so it means that when I go on holiday, this is a deck that I'm going to take because it can replace several different types of decks. And there is a very nice box as well. So yeah, good point for this one. So now I have only 2 decks left in my selection. So I'm going to start with the last tarot deck from the selection, and this is the Dane Darcy Mermaid Tarot. This is not a deck I was particularly fond of at the beginning of my tarot journey, but tastes change, and as I gained more experience with the cards, I began to appreciate decks with more personality, and this deck has such a cool personality. I love the cardstock, which is thick. I love the matte gilding on the side, and I really love the color palette in this deck with those beautiful greens, teal and blue, those lovely pinks and tangerine colors. I like the pin-up style of the mermaids and the mix with the pirates and sailors. So yeah, I really like this deck, and some images are so powerful. I like this one. Oh, this one is great. Yeah, I really like this deck. It is beautiful, and I'm so jealous of the hair of the mermaids in this deck. They're beautiful. Yeah, I really like this deck. It has a really strong personality that I really appreciate, and this is a deck I particularly like using during spring and summer, but this is definitely one I could use throughout the year. Okay, this is maybe one of the only cards that I don't really like, because it is not as well executed as the other ones, I think, but that's okay. Oh yeah, yeah. So I love this deck, and I like pairing this deck with Wisdom of the Oracle by Colette Baron Reid. And this deck is also a great deck if you want to use the deck alone, but it is a very cool pairing with this one, I think. Look at the backs of the cards. They are the same colors, the dark blue, the red, the turquoise, of course, and you have little bits of yellow and and beige in those designs. So I think they match really well together, and that is something that is really satisfying for me. What I also like about this deck by Colette Baron-Reid is the guidebook. It is a wonderful guidebook because for each card there is the essential meaning of the card. There is the oracle's message, the relationship message, and a prosperity message, and a protection message. So this one of my first oracle decks, and it helped me understand how to envision a card under different perspectives. And that was a great learning tool, I think. I like the pictures. They are very intuitive. And even if the decks that she does nowadays with Jenna de la Cortaglia are more sophisticated and really beautiful in terms of the artwork, I really prefer this one because it's much clearer than those that she has done more recently. So yeah, this is really my favorite Colette Baron-Reid deck, and it is well balanced. Many different themes are covered by the decks, and you can do spreads with several cards, which is not always the case, I feel, with oracle decks, but it works with this one. And of course, you can pair it with other decks. And my favorite pairing is with, when I use this deck, is with the Dame Darcy. So when I pair those two together, what I do is that I pick one card from each deck. Okay, this one is jumping out. So we're going to keep this one. And we're going to use it with we don't have any jumper card. Okay, so I'm going to pick one card here. There. So, for example, we have the Chariot and the Knowing. Okay, so yeah, here maybe you are invited to focus on what you know deep inside of you in order to make your way and to concentrate your intentions, to know where you're going and what is driving you. Yeah, I like the way it works together, and the colors also kind of complete each other. They work quite well together. So even though the style is very different, I think they work quite nicely together. I don't really like the fact that the borders are not the same color. Here we have a very nice old paper color in the borders, and here we have very white borders. So this is something that is not great, but anyway, I like the way those two decks work together. So here you have Y and the Five of Swords. Yeah, I like the way it works. So I think we have seen all the decks from my 10 deck selection. So I'm just going to repeat the names of the decks to wrap up this video. So there was the Wisdom of the Oracle by Colette Baron-Reid, the Dame Darcy Mermaid Tarot, the Seer Tarot by Chris Anne, L'Oracle des Medeores, which is the French deck here by Stéphanie Abellan, the Oak, Ash and Thorn Tarot by Stephanie Burrows and Adam Ohlers, the Botanical Inspirations, the Earthbound Oracle, the Wildera Lenormand, the Tarot of the She, and the Flowers inside cards. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please put a thumb up if you enjoyed my selection, and I hope you had a nice time with me. So thank you for watching. if you want to have a look at my channel, you can. There are a few videos that were recorded in English if you're interested, but yeah, most of my channel is in French. So thank you and take care. Have a nice day. Bye.